For hundreds of years before today, oil and coal have been the preferred energy sources in the generation of electricity and heat because of their historically significant ability to spur what many scholars refer to as the Industrial Revolution. Starting in the mid-1800s, this term refers to a period of rapid economic growth and the quantum leap in the standard of living for those in industrialized countries. Populations grew proportionally quickly, adding pressure to existing resource constraints that still carry into modern day. Since industrialization, the challenges of meeting global demand for education, gender equality, access to clean drinking water, transportation, electricity, and healthcare have added significantly higher demands for energy into these systems, which have historically relied on fossil fuels to meet these demands. For nearly the past 2 centuries and up until modern day, fossil fuels have played an extremely important role in industrializing states out of agrarian-based societies, changed the way we transport ourselves, and provided electricity services to the most remote areas of the globe. Fossil fuels are highly efficient delivery systems of chemical energy, but are ultimately finite and potentially highly detrimental to human and environmental health when used in excess. As a global community, we happen to be using fossil fuels incredibly quickly, and increasingly so. And until recently, this has been conducted in the absence of adequate consideration to alternative means of meeting global energy demand, delivering goods and services, or the consideration of whether or not we need to increase this type of activity and growth at all. The significance of the time period in historical context, among other Industrial Revolution breakthroughs, marked what many scholars refer to as the Anthropocene, a period of rapid global growth and development driven by technological advancements that resulted in massive population growth, urbanization, more manufacturing, gross domestic product growth, or GDP growth, which has led to unparalleled natural resource harvesting, carbon emissions, pollution, and resource scarcity. Though consumption of material goods varies region to region, the aggregate demand of raw materials in the production of physical, tangible goods in the economy is occurring at a rate far above the rate at which the natural environment can replenish itself to offer those raw materials again. In the way we do business as usual, this is often paired with the added destruction of those very raw materials caused by pollution, habitat destruction, or a rapidly changing climate. For example, in 2016, the global production of plastic reached 8.3 billion metric tons within the past 60 years, the vast majority of which has ended up as landfilled waste. 91% of all plastics ever made never have been recycled, according to a 2017 study. Further, the rate at which plastic enters the ocean has reached the volumetric equivalent of a garbage truck per minute, and by 2050, it is expected that there will be more pieces of plastic in the ocean than fish, by weight, if current production and consumption continues under business as usual conditions. The implication of this scenario also carries additional implications into the global economy through the destruction of what are called ecosystem services. Ecosystem services are systems, goods, and processes which directly make human life, and thus the global economy, possible. For example, the production and maintenance of fertile soils, the prevention of that soil from eroding, detoxifying the water table under that soil, raining upon that soil, and all the microbial activity within that soil are ecosystem services which make it possible for our global agricultural industry, which was one of our largest industries, to exist. In addition to services like oxygen production, microbial soil activity, or heat sequestration, ecosystem goods like water, edible plant and animal life, or air are also considered to be within the realm of services since no good would exist without an underlying ecological process, a service. Ecosystem services meet basic human needs as well as economic demand, less basic human wants, and environmental stability. It then follows that for public and private institutions alike, competitive organizations in an increasingly globalizing new economy will see the growth of green industry practices not as a hindrance, but in fact an immense opportunity. In doing so, the employment of best business practices which facilitate the maintaining of universal, long-term wealth creation strategies, which are synchronized with modern global dynamics and aligning themselves with further efforts of sustainable development, will allow public and private institutions to maintain a competitive advantage in the global arena. One such suggested measure for doing so has been the implementation of benchmarking. In comparing organizational behavior in relation to the behavior of other organizations. According to the book Natural Capitalism, The Next Industrial Revolution, there are a myriad of opportunities in synchronizing long-term wealth creation principles with modern global trends, such as in green infrastructure, energy efficiency, information technology, fuel-efficient transportation, sustainable investing, and renewable energy, which, in addition to the diversification into services, as opposed to material goods, help to not only strengthen organizations against market volatility, but competitively expand into new and lucrative sectors which are not being cracked down upon by an increasing number of anti-plastic international agendas. At first, breaking from our global fossil fuel path dependency may require influential actors which set other actors into motion by calling international attention to global environmental issues, to then present them as immensely lucrative opportunities. For example, the Ocean Cleanup is a nonprofit organization which is headed by a young Dutch inventor named Boyan Slat. The goal of the Ocean Cleanup is to launch a new marine debris collection technology out in the Pacific Ocean, which includes pipes 40 feet in length, which are fitted to the ends of one another in a serpentine fashion. Screens hang down from the pipes and create a giant sieve into which marine debris will be caught, but not microplastics. The issue of ecological impact is mitigated by allowing fish to swim under the sieve to avoid being caught in them. The ultimate plan is to employ 60 of these vessels at the same time. Once collected, these plastics can be sorted, refined, and recycled into the physical goods market, in closing the loop of a circular economy. One major obstacle to organizational sustainability strategies, which are taken from top-down perspectives in financially incentivizing a change in behavior, is that too many options still remain for the consumer or industry player, with little enforcement of the measures proposed or sufficient collaboration between stakeholders in devising solutions. For example, take the case of waste reduction attempts in the UK. One original proposal was to tax over a certain amount of waste produced per UK household at the point of curbside collection. This was met with immediate criticism, leading to UK residents actually going out of their way to dump their waste somewhere else, without reducing consumption, to avoid being fined. This negative reinforcement of an undesired stimulus, a financial penalty, was ideally meant not to encourage, but punish non-environmentally compliant behavior. But, similar to top-down measures like boosting recycling availability to consumers who wouldn't desire to be inconvenienced, this too does little to reduce consumption or change consumer behavior. For competitive and successful organizations today, sufficiently holistic solutions to boosting the degree of sustainability in the world economy would simultaneously address economic, social, and environmental issues, which are incompatible with current global legislative and private industry practices, which tend to categorize and tackle single issues or adopt reductionist approaches to economic challenges. According to Walter Stahel, don't repair what is not broken, don't remanufacture what can be repaired, and don't recycle what can be remanufactured. Circular economic activity from competitive organizations in the 21st century, which focuses on resource efficiency, firstly makes business sense, in that by minimizing waste, one also consequently receives a higher savings or return on investment from a materials throughput perspective. But second, it spurs investments into long-term trends in using productive capital toward boosting infrastructure, human development, and skills and services in human capital. And though investing into human development may not fit the now outdated method of economic growth, the long-term effects of skills building in human capital, which include systemic thought process to accommodate for the human element of development, in fact aid the decentralization of authoritative decision-making and result in more long-term solution creation through collaboration. Learning the human element boosts the ability of the individual to collaborate with others, which has been proven to be both genetically and economically favorable to cutthroat competitiveness. Such solutions can be developed in any sector through collaboration, but for the intentions of this video conference, investing into human capital development will assist in the creation of more holistic solutions to our global dependence on fossil fuels and our huge productions of waste. In fact, according to Thomas Friedman, successful firms will develop the emotional intelligence and skill sets to accommodate moral leadership in business, innovation in adaptive leadership, and investments into bottom-up approaches to solving complex global issues like startups and social movements. Ideally, Friedman argues, the ideal skill set for the jobs of the future is stempathy, a term he uses to describe the synchronization of sub-skill sets in science, technology, math, combined with the emotional skill of empathy. Here, the transdisciplinary approach to problem solving could be considered key in today's globalized economy, which only increasingly focuses on solutions to complex issues in environmentalism and human health.